concept only. There's no funds asked for in this report. It's just a recommendation that the master plan be adopted.
Thanks, John. Have we got a mover for that recommendation?
Mover Betts. Councillor Ball.
Moved by Councillor Betts, seconded by Councillor Ball. Would you like to make any discussion on those, Councillor Betts or Councillor Ball?
No. No.
John,
yeah, I'd like to make a comment, please.
Yes, Nick.
Mayor.
Councillor Metcalfe.
Just a query on the two moorings actually in the river currently, or one's also been approved. Are they going to be an issue or a hindrance to the development which is going to go ahead there with the boat ramp?
Oh, do you want me to answer?
Thanks, Jordan.
Yep. So, no, we'll negotiate with the owners, or the lessees of the moorings to move them. The intent is that they will stay in that area of Edward River Oval.
No, all good. Thank you.
It's Councillor Fogarty here. Look, I have some concerns with the overall approval of it, and certainly the moorings is one of them, because if they have to be moved, at whose expense are they going to be moved? I know one of the mooring owners has gone to quite a deal of expense in putting the mooring in and the attachments to the mooring. And the other mooring, just in getting the mooring, has been quite a difficult and expensive exercise for the other people. That I think this was quite different, that then we're saying they have to be moved. I think the plan needs to go back to have another look at it. I've got some serious concerns about traffic issues with traffic turning into the facility. When private development has taken place on the highway, amendments have had to be made to the highway to enable proper turning lanes into the facility, and I think this shouldn't be any different given that it's council's facility. There was a comment in some of the feedback in regards to boat ramps, and I know when we had one of our finance meetings, one of the decisions was that before we would build new infrastructure, we would make sure that our previous infrastructure was in the best condition it could be in, and there is certainly comments in some of the feedback that we need to look at our current boat ramp and do up our current boat ramps before we start developing another boat ramp. So, you know, they're my concerns, and I think with those concerns that this proposal does need some further investigation before it is fully approved and adopted.
Can I make comment?
Councillor Hall.
Yeah, look, I can take Councillor Fogarty's sentiments on board. That this is a concept plan, basically it would be an evolving document, I would see, that we can make changes as we go. But as we know, we need a draft plan so that we can try and have some funding options or ability to get funding. Yeah, the moorings, I would think it would be at council's expense if they were moved. I don't think it would be up to the individual when they've already done the works required. Saying that clearly they're not, one of them is not using it anyway, they're using a town facility. Look, with the boat ramp, I think it's a concept. It's not a formal approval. It's just there for council to work through in their programming. But of course, we've got maintenance issues. We've got to uphold our other assets. But this has always been something that's been identified as a need. And I would say that I would like to see support in terms of a concept.
I guess in response to that, actually, I would like it been noted as part of the recommendation that there are some concerns and that that if the concept plan is adopted, that concerns are listed.
Yeah, definitely, that's fine. Yeah.
Would you like to move an amendment to that motion then, Councillor Fogarty?
Yes, I would, and that is that the point 2 be, the point 1 be adopt the concept plans as presented, but these may not be final, given that some adjustments need to be made in terms of boat moorings and traffic concerns.
Entry and exit concerns of traffic, yep.
Yes. Yeah. So they're mainly the concerns.
Well, I'd probably leave out, Belinda's typed up on there, adopt the final concept designs. I don't think we're at the stage of having final concept designs yet, are we? Julie?
No, I'd like the word final left out.
That's what I thought, adopt the concept designs, but further work, yeah.
And noted that there are some concerns regarding traffic, entry and exit, moorings.
Yep.
Well, I think the pathways were another issue that had been raised in some of the submissions also. So perhaps moorings and pathways.
And traffic concerns.
Require further investigation.
Now, Councillor Betts and Councillor Buller, who moved the original recommendation, are you quite happy with that amendment?
Councillor Betts, yes, because we're not making a final decision. So, yep, that's fine.
That will come back to Council after all this work's done, Councillor Betts, and then we'll make a final decision then.
I'm more concerned about the amount of dogs written down that people don't own to prove a point they want a dog park.
Well, I just had the question in my head this morning, Councillor Betts. Maybe we should add up the dogs and see if we've got that many dogs registered in the council.
Well, that was my very first thought, was we just created a whole lot more really to double check all those people having all those dogs. But anyway, yes, it just shows why you don't take on submissions like that. Okay, moving along, I'm happy with that.
Right.
Just a point on that, which I want to reiterate again. It's legislation. The council has to have an off-leash dog park. So don't keep on dismissing this, because we're going to have to put one in. That's just my point.
Actually, I'm not dismissing it by any means. I just don't think people need to lie to get their point across. We think it's a...
I'm just saying that just in terms of where we are with it. Well,
it makes them look stupid and discredits what they're trying to do.
So we've got the mover and seconder of the original recommendation are quite happy with the amendment. We've got a mover, which is Councillor Fogarty. Councillor Hall, are you happy to second that amendment?
I'm just concerned about, at the beginning, we're adopting the final concept design. So we're going to wipe that out altogether? Are we moving that and then moving the amendment?
I think what Councillor Fogarty is trying to do is get some further work done on the designs that we currently have, because in her opinion there's some deficiencies there.
Well, I'd suggest you defer the whole thing. I wouldn't even put that recommendation forward, because it's pointless.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to do that if that's going to investigate what Councillor Fogarty is concerned about.
Julie, have you got any comments in regard to that?
Well, in terms of the pathways, the amendments were made to the final designs to so that it appeared that the pathway was going up past the Edward River Hotel and not into the caravan park. So that's been addressed. In terms of the moorings, it will be council's cost to move the moorings, so it will be modifications to the development application to do those. And in terms of the traffic entry and exit, the RMS were consulted. They didn't respond, but I do expect that they would probably ask for some sort of modifications to that intersection. But that doesn't form part of the brief that was given to the consultants.
Where do we go from here, Mr. General Manager?
You've got a motion, I think, from Councillor Betts and Wall.
Yes.
And then Councillor Hall said, let's defer it, so that's the one.
Right.
We need to second it for that.
Right. So, the General Manager just give me a direction that we've virtually got an amendment done by Councillor Hall to defer a decision on this concept designs. Have we got a seconder for that?
Yes, I'll second that.
Right, so we've got a mover and a seconder to defer the approval of the concept designs until relevant matters are attended to. Is there any further questions or comment on that? All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye. And it's only 1-0 in 2, attended to.
Against? Right, the amended motion deferring the concept designs is approved. Is passed. 10.6, which is Gerald in Planning Proposal 10.
So item 10.6 is a planning proposal amending the Deniliquin Local Environmental Plan 2013 to rezone Lot 2 in DP 1220715 in Harfless Street from SP2 infrastructure to BT2 local centre, and this will allow the development of the land for seniors housing in accordance with the state environmental planning policy for housing and people with disabilities. So this land is owned by council, and it's the land that was acquired from VicTrack, I think, from memory, and we really need to be able to, the amendment needs to be done so that it makes the use of the seniors housing permissible on that part of the land.
Got the recommendation there. Have I got a mover?
Move Hall.
Moved by Councillor Hall, seconded
Fogarty.
by Councillor Fogarty. Ashley Councillor Hall or Councillor Fogarty, you want to speak to that?
Oh, look, I'm probably just not perplexed that it wasn't picked up earlier when the land was purchased. It's been sitting there for some time now, and we've been doing a lot of planning around this, and I think the consultant queried the planning, the zoning side of it, so I'm pretty sure we thought it had been done, but it might have slipped through the cracks.
And we also need to have a division of this. Is there any further comments or questions people have got?
No.
No.
Okay. Could you indicate whether you're for or against the recommendation? Councillor Fogarty?
For.
Councillor Betts?
For.
Councillor Bull?
For.
Councillor Hall?
For.
Councillor McAllister?
For.
Councillor McCrabb?
For.
Councillor Metcalfe?
For.
Councillor Wallace? Councillor Wallace? I'd say Councillor Wallace is out of... Yeah, and the Mayor is for. So that's carried. We'll put Councillor Wallace is leaving the room. All right, because I don't want it negative. If you understand what I mean. Right, 10.7 is the Environmental Services Report. Julie.
So for the month of March, there were 23 applications on hand. At the end of the month, 13 were approved. There was 3 fines issued, 2 for wandering dogs and 1 for a dog with no collar and ID tag. There were 2 dog attacks, and from those there were 2 victims.
All right, we've got a recommendation here to note the Environmental Services Report for March. Would someone like to move that?
Yeah, Metcalfe.
Councillor Metcalfe moves. Seconded.
Councillor Ball.
Councillor Ball. Any questions to Julie on the report?
Yeah, Julie, Nick speaking. Just want to know how we got on with that wombat out in Casuarina.
So the wombat had burrowed under the person's house, and it was coming and going from the burrow, and I understand the ranger, they did try to put something over the entry point to stop the wombat from going in there, and we also made some contact. There is a wombat society in New South Wales to get some distance from them, but I think it's at the point now it's back with the person who owns the property.
Thanks, Julie.
That's okay.
Any other questions? Moved and seconded by Councillor Metcalfe and Councillor Bull. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Item 10.8. Water Transport Assets, Murray Irrigation Limited. Ollie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council officers have been meeting with MIL about this issue for a number of times, and each of the councils that are within the MIL service area, which is Federation, Berrigan, Edward River Council, Murray River and Murrumbidgee. And at our meetings, the MIL have raised the issue that they're concerned about the condition of some of their infrastructure. They have over 1,400 water transport structures across their area, and they believe that about 450 of these are in poor condition. 149 of these are within Edward River boundaries. So there are agreements in place between Council and MIL that outline that Council are the owners of the infrastructure, but Murray Irrigation are responsible for the management and maintenance of the infrastructure. So MIL have approached Council requesting permission to apply for funding under the Fixing Country Road scheme to get all these structures assessed. Their concerns are if they don't get them assessed, they will have to start to put load restrictions on a lot of the infrastructure, which will impact our farming community because we will need to start putting load restrictions on some of our roads. So the MIL have requested permission to apply for this funding on behalf of Council, and will cost about $8,000 per structure to get them assessed. So all up across the region, between 3 and 4 million to get them all assessed. So the intent then will be that they'll have to basically come up with a programme for renewing the infrastructure. So the report recommends that Council approve the request to apply for this funding. We have spoken to the funding body. This will not impact Council's ability to apply for funding through the Fixing the Country Roads for our own projects in the future. The report also discusses the anomalies and the issues in relation to the ownership and management of these structures, and the recommendation also requests that Council inform MIL that we will seek advice and commence the process to update the existing agreements. Over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Ollie. I'm just got a question for you to start before I look for a mover of the motion. But is the $543 million enough for the 1,400 bridges to potentially be replaced? How much a bridge?
Possible. So a lot of the infrastructure are culverts, different size culverts rather than actual bridges. There's a small portion are larger bridges. And really at the moment we don't have enough information to really assess how much it will cost to replace them all. I have been informed that they estimate the value of the infrastructure within Edward Rivers municipal region is about 200 million. So if they were to replace them all, it would cost a lot of money to replace them all. The likelihood is a lot of them will be fine, and once they're assessed and they're looked at, they will be signed off that they're okay. The other way to manage this would be to actually come up with priority transport routes and work with transporters. And we might try to work with MIL to encourage larger vehicles to use certain roads and focus on them ones first.
Okay, thanks, Ollie. Councillors, we've got the recommendation there. Would someone like to move that recommendation?
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes. Councillor McAllister.
Ollie, this arrangement doesn't change previous arrangements been in place since 2005?
To you, Mr. Norm, no, Mr. Mayor, no, it doesn't. We're still aligned with the original CAT agreements, and really, I've had discussions at RAMCO level to try to start a process to see if we can get the ownership of the structures transferred fully to MIL in the future. But for now, it will not change the current agreements.
Thank you. I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor McAllister. Do you want to talk to it at all, Councillor McAllister?
No, it's just, it's, as Ollie said, there's a lot of legal arrangements in there, but it's a vesting of the structure to council. That was the biggest issue. But the point that was made, and we've been sticking to this since 2005, was the fact that Murray Irrigation actually derived benefit from those assets, and the council didn't. So from the council perspective, we could go in and firstly fill them in if we needed to, won't have been any use to us. So that was the picture. That's how we came to the arrangements we are now, that Murray Irrigation actually derived benefits, so therefore they should maintain them, blah, blah, blah.
Yep, it was a hard battle back in 2005.
Paul.
Sorry, Councillor Hall.
I'll second it, but I just want to make a comment.
No comment, right. Any other questions?
No, I want to make a comment. I do want to make a comment.
Right, all yours.
I just want to, can I just see clarification how the asset is council owned, but not on our balance sheet?
Because it was actually in the council jurisdiction on the road reserves, Ashman. And back in those days, the conversation was more about Murray Irrigation and trying to offload the assets totally to the councils, and then walk away from the maintenance.
I fully understand the CAT agreement, the splitting maintenance and the responsibility of upkeep is MIL, but I still can't work out how we can have ownership of many items and not be on the balance sheet when it's on the MIL's balance sheet. I just think it's a discrepancy.
Well, it's a bit like the that was never discussed back in 2005. Actually, that's probably why it's such a big point now. There's not much to be done on it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Ollie.
Yeah, so Councillor Hall, yes, that is one of the anomalies that we have been trying to resolve at regional level, because it's also a similar issue for Murrumbidgee irrigation, and it is one of the issues that we should resolve. As Councillor Metcalfe does point out, it's very similar to the fire service. It's something that technically, under the agreement, potentially we should have on our books, but MIL are happy to keep it and account for them on their books.
Yeah, fair. Well, I suppose their responsibility is done like ours to help them kind of try and get the funding, so you have to support the, but they won't be able to fund it themselves.
No, it was an easier way at the time for them to manage the responsibility under the Roads Act at the time, and also in relation to funding opportunities, it was easier for council to be able to apply for that funding.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We've got a mover and a seconder. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Against? Carried. Item 10.9. Oliver.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, it's Mark here, Mark Dalzell.
Good day, Mark.
As councillors are aware, we've been working through the plans of management for all Crown land that council is trustee of, with changes to the Crown Lands Management Act. It's a program of work the council needs to have these adopted by sort of June mid 2021. So this report includes the plans of management for 4 of the council's reserves, being the Deniliquin Cemetery Reserve, the Deniliquin Oval Reserve, also known as Harding Street Oval, Deniliquin Sports Park Reserve, and Deniliquin Swimming Centre. Or the plans of management reflect the existing uses of each of those reserves, and under the guidelines set down by the Crown Lands, therefore haven't gone out to public consultation. It is noted that all these reserves do have groups, and quite sort of settled groups and various groups for each of the reserves, and council staff have been talking with the groups about the governance structures and management of the reserves, and those discussions and that will be part of a future revision to the plans of management. So the recommendation is that council adopt these plans of management so that staff can send the plans onto Crown Lands for their endorsement. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mark. The recommendations are there. We've got a mover for those.
I'll move, Councillor McAllister.
Moved by Councillor McAllister. Do you want to talk to those, Councillor McAllister?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Wallace would second.
Who was it?
Wallace.
Well, Councillor Wallace, thank you for seconding that motion. You would like to talk to it all, Councillor Wallace?
No, I'm very happy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That's 8 ayes.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. 10.10. Road closures along Cressy Street.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. So in a previous meeting, council approved the traffic control plan for the long-term closure of Cressy Street for the road construction works along the street there from Edward Street through to Harding Street. due to the current situation, the original start date for those works was determined around events such as Anzac Day and also school holidays, with a lot more tourists and visitors to the town. Sort of both those events and things, unfortunately, aren't going ahead. And so the council staff are just requesting that the approval for the traffic control plan can commence as of next Monday, the 20th of April. The project managers are talking with the contractors to see if they can get going with the work earlier. It would ultimately, if it was able to start next week, be a 2 to 3 week sort of period earlier than what the original approval for implementation of the traffic control plan was from the council's previous meeting. So it's just an opportunity that can get the work commenced earlier, therefore giving more time or hopefully the time saving, or more time, depending on weather conditions, at the end of the project, hopefully when everything's sort of back to normal and the businesses and visitors and that are all back at full speed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mark.
I'll move that.
Moved by Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor Ball. Any questions? Mark, can I
just makes a lot of sense, as long as the shops or the businesses that are open are made aware. I suppose that's the main thing.
That's exactly what my question was. How are all the traders positive towards it? Mark?
Sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so Paul has, the project manager, Paul Artisan, has meeting with a lot of the traders this week, and he's also, the contractor is in town today to try to finalise a start date, and so once that's finalised, then the actual definite date will be given to all the traders over the next couple of days. But they are aware of the proposed change of dates.
And there's no negativity?
At the moment, no. I think there's the main concerns are COVID-19 rather than the roadworks at this stage.
Okay. Thanks, Oliver. We're going to move in a second. Moved and seconded. Any further questions? I'll put it. Would all those in favour of the recommendation?
Aye.
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 That's fine. Against? Carried. Item 10.11, Denelon Hospital and Police Precinct Parking Review. Oliver.
Yeah,
Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In last year's September meeting, Council resolved to approve the creation of 12 two-hour parking spots at the hospital in an effort just to increase parking turnover. Council received comments and requests from the hospital regarding people going to either short-term visits to people at hospital or having to visit the doctors and that there. They were having to park a long way away from the entrance. So as part of the initial resolutions from Council was to receive a further report after 6 months, just discussing the implementation and the effectiveness of it. So Council staff have undertaken a review of the parking. It's been positive. Increase the turnover. We've also around the issuing of any fines and that to reinforce the parking, and to date Council hasn't issued any fines around it. We did advise the hospital at the time that we wouldn't be focusing on issuing fines in this area. It would just be done as part of the general parking enforcement throughout town. And hospital, the people at the hospital at the time were happy with that. The work has also provided a disabled park in front of the in front of the police station, which has been implemented and again is working well. So, as a summary of the effectiveness of the changes to the parking there, it has been effective and should continue with the parking as it is now. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mark. The recommendations there, it looks like they've implemented some positive steps there in regard to parking. Someone like to move that report?
Metcalfe.
Moved by Councillor Metcalfe, seconded by?
Councillor Bull.
Councillor Bull, would you like to make comment either Nick or Mark?
No, all good, thanks.
It's working very well.
It's good to hear. Good to hear. All right. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Against? Carried. Item 10.12. Cressy Street Revitalisation Project. Business Support Program.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the development at Napier Street, councillors will remember that we provided a business support to impacted traders, and the support that was provided related to signage, branding, print advertisement, radio, media and social media, and there was some financial support provided as well. This report is seeking council's approval to roll out this support package to the impacted businesses on Cressy Street. And it is for the first stage, which would be at signage, print media, radio and social media. Officers have got quotes for doing this work, similar to Napier Street, and it's estimated that a budget of $60,000 will be required. This report does not discuss the financial support, and it's proposed that will be discussed in a later workshop and a council meeting. So the recommendation is that council approve the Cressy Street Revitalisation Project business support programme as outlined in the report, approve the programme guidelines, and approve a budget of $60,000 for this programme.
Thanks, Oliver. The recommendations there. Would someone like to move that recommendation?
Councillor Betts.
Thanks, Councillor Betts. Moved. Seconded.
Councillor Hall.
Seconded by Councillor Hall. Would Councillor Betts or Councillor Hall like to talk to that?
No, not at this point. We just do whatever we can.
Right. Any other questions? We've got a mover and a seconder. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Against? Carried. Item 10.13, Major Works Program, April Progress Report. Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our monthly update that relates to the Major Projects Programme. Some items to note: the Town Hall and the Town Hall Civic Area project, the tenders close tomorrow. Some of the other projects that are worth noting: the changing rooms in Memorial Park, the draft plans are complete, and discussions will be ongoing with the clubs over the next few weeks and to enable a DA to be applied for those new dressing rooms. As already discussed, Cressy Street and Waring Gardens are getting moving fairly soon. Crossing Cafe project has been brought forward and they're busy working well down there, as is the Rams project. All the demolition work is complete, internal works have commenced, and we're just finalising the construction certificate for the new steel frame. So all in all, the programme is moving well, and again, we've sped up as much as we can to keep the projects moving and try to keep work going. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Oliver. The recommendations here to note the major programs. Someone like to move that recommendation?
McCrab.
Who's that? Sorry, who moved that?
McCrab.
Thanks, Peter. Councillor McCrab moved. We've got a seconder?
Councillor Ball.
Councillor Ball seconded. Either Councillor McCrab or Councillor Ball want to speak to that report?
No.
Any
It's
other?
very nice, Ollie, to see no red marks on the report.
Thank you, Councillor Bull. I thoroughly agree, and so does Oliver. Any other questions?
Thanks, guys.
All those in favour?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Item 10.14, relocation of capital works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, this report relates to a discussion in our February council meeting where it was discussed that there was a shortfall of funding available to complete the gravel road resheet for Willow Road. As part of the development of the third quarter capital works project, which will be brought to council in May, there have been savings identified. There's about $100,000 in savings in the resale programme, and there are some savings in the Rice Mill Road project and some Macaulay Street curb and gutter. So this report recommends that we transfer $100,000 from the resale programme to enable Willow Road be completed as originally scoped for the full 20 kilometres, and then approve the transfer of the savings of $25,000 from the Rice Mill Road project and $15,000 from Macaulay Street curb and gutter to enable $40,000 be put into a project to bring designs and surveys forward for next year's programme. That will enable us to get a lot of the work, projects for next year shovel ready, that we can get onto them straight away in the new financial year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Oliver. Just before I seek a question for you, the savings, were they as a result of less work being done or done cheaper?
Done cheaper. So our agreement with Primal for the resale programme is based on a unit rate on the square area.
Yep.
But each year they actually charge us per metre applied, and as part of the project they actually go out and rescope the areas we identify. So there generally can be a movement of 5 or 10% of the actual contracted figure during the course of the project. Council may also remember that earlier in the year we allocated a further $500,000 to additional resealing, and that has also come in slightly under budget. It's being completed as we speak. So, and it's pretty regular that we can have up to $100,000 of savings in our reseal programme. Rice Mill Road, through the design process, we developed a slightly different standard of how we reconstructed it, and that enables some savings. And so again, we're constantly trying to see if we can find better ways of doing it, and these savings are generally down to that.
It's good news, good news. The recommendation's there. Would someone like to move the recommendation?
McCrab.
Moved by Councillor McCrab, seconded by Councillor Bull.
Yes.
I saw your light just flashed on my screen, so I knew it was you. Any questions? The mover and seconder, any questions to Oliver?
Yes. Oliver, we're making some good savings on the reseal side of the equation, and we're using those to spend on the budget overruns on the resheeting. Is that going to be an ongoing issue, or is this just a one-off that job's come in costing us more than we expected?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would like to think it will be a one-off issue. When I went investigated the issue, there were some errors made in the unit rate estimates that were made on behalf of gravel road resheeting last year. Some of the costs involved in transportation, and that hadn't been included. So for the budget preparation for next year, we have revised our unit rate for gravel road resheeting and made sure we've included those costs. So yes, I'd be confident that we should not have that issue again.
Thank you. that's perfect.
No other questions? Moved and seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Against? Carried. Right, this comes to the stage of the council meeting. Over to you, John.
Mr Mayor, councillors, this report follows the April workshop where there was support for postponing the rate increase for 2021 financial year. Very important report because it does outline some assistance that can be provided to the community, and it also needs to be taken into the context of the council's future financial sustainability. What I would suggest is it's a very detailed report, and I guess there are two ways of dealing with it. One is to deal with it as it sits right now, and the councillors can debate, but there are some restrictions on the openness and the flexibility in the council environment, or to adjourn the meeting at this point and consider it in a workshop, which is set down for today anyway, where council can look at this, receive a presentation from the manager of finance, have a more informal discussion about this issue and the budget, and then come back after that and formally address this particular report. My suggestion would be to use the more informal workshop to talk about it because of its importance, but of course that's the council's decision. If the council wants to go that way, I would suggest that the motion would be that the further consideration of the report be undertaken at the workshop to be held on 16th of April 2020, so that it may be discussed in conjunction with the budget presentation. So that would be a motion on this particular report, and then there would be a further motion required by council to adjourn the meeting.
Thanks, John. So the General Manager has put that motion up that we adjourn the council meeting for discussion of the report 10.15. I can move from the chair, can't I? Yes, I'll move that motion. Have we got a second?
Yeah, seconded.
Second by Councillor Fogarty. Any other questions? All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Plenty of ayes. Against? Carried.
And it possibly needs to fit under option 2 in postponing, but it needs to state that councillors will forego their increase for the year also.
All right, we can add that in as an extra. Sorry, Nick? Councillor Metcalfe?
No, it's fine.
That'll be 0.8.
Yes. So Councillor Fogarty will put that as a 0.8, an additional point to the recommendation.
Additional point. To the recommendation.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we're making that an additional point in that recommendation, Pat? But
Yes, yes.
So you're still happy to move that?
Yes, I am.
Just a clarification, with the non-increase of the that's a all feel good measure, that $12,000, I don't know what to say it is, it's pretty minimal. Is that what you spent on? Is that got any plans on what you're going to do with that, or is it just to make it feel?
I think it will just look at the general savings that we're trying to add on is going to come back to us as well with some of the general savings.
So Pat, can I just ask, you're assuming that those rate notices are in the truck and they're going to get to the post office, that we can't stop them?
Yes.
Yes. Righto.
So we've got a mover for the recommendation, which is 8 different points, including a no increase for councillors. Is there a seconder to that mover?
Councillor Betts will second.
Thank you, Councillor Betts. Further discussion? All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Against?
No. Norm McAllister? No.
Yeah, Ashley Hall.
Councillor Hall and Councillor McAllister against. I'm in favour of the recommendation. Therefore, the motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Now, there's no additional items, Mr. Julian?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. In that case, I would call the April meeting closed in council and finished. And do we want to do anything else after that?